Hello, everyone. Hope we're doing fantastic today. Today, I want to give you some tips and tricks for how I deal with typing in Chinese on computers that aren't my own. If you're ever in a situation where you just need to type something out and you don't really want to go into the settings, or you literally can't go into the settings, I want to give you some tips for how I deal with that, and then go into how I actually go about searching for documents online if I want to go and find something that I don't really want to go to the library, or I don't need to go to the library. There's a lot of resources out there that can really help us get to the material that we want without having to go out of our way too far. So the first thing, how do I type in Chinese when I don't have a Chinese keyboard input already set up on the computer? I either don't want to go into the settings and deal with that, or I don't because I'm locked out for some reason. Well, guess what? Google has got you covered. You go into Google Translate, right? And if you hop into the languages here, there's all different kinds of languages that are available to you for you to choose from. Now, depending on if you want to do traditional Chinese or simplified, you choose whichever one. I want to do traditional today. And you want to make sure that this little button here in the bottom corner of your typing block here is actually activated. See, it's grayed out there. There it's a darker color. Now you can set a bunch of different inputs. So today I want to do pinyin because that's what I'm most familiar with. But even if you don't know how to type the pinyin, you don't know what the pinyin is, you don't know how to pronounce the character, they even have handwriting here available for you if you really want to. Okay, how do you do it? You just do as the same way that you would normally do using a Chinese input system. So say I want to say ni hao, right? That's my go-to on these videos. Ni hao, bam, you have it right there. The great thing about this too is if you're not super familiar with Chinese, if Chinese is still something that you're learning, this can give you a kind of quick troubleshooting to see if you're actually choosing the right character. You get a little cheat sheet. But anyways, today I want to look at text. I want to look at how we can actually find texts online. There's a lot of texts available, especially for us since we're looking at pre-modern stuff. We're looking at really old stuff. There's nothing to do with copyright there. The texts are basically there for you to find on the internet. So say I want to look at, for example, the Analects of Confucius, which the Analects of Confucius in Chinese are called the Lunyu, right? So Lunyu, that's the pinyin. And because it's a very common thing that you put in, it's actually number one. And bam, look at that. We type in Lunyu and we even get a nice little cheat sheet here on the right, the Analects of Confucius. That's exactly what we want to see. Now, I don't want to type it in here. I want to type it into my search bar. So I'm going to just Control C, copy it, right? And then I would drop it into Google. I've already done it here, so we have it up for us available to do. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. It is St. Patrick's Day if that's something that you celebrate. But anyways, so my two go-to places for actually finding text if I just want a quick reference and I don't want to go out of my way, log into any of my databases or anything like that. The first one, Chinese Text Project, ctext.org. It is a great resource. It has a lot of search capabilities as well if you want to find particular things. So let's just hop into there really quick. This is what the home page of the Chinese Text Project looks like. And you'll actually see in the top corner, there's options for language. So this is a Chinese version. You click into here, and then they have either simplified or traditional. You can hop between those two depending on whichever one you're familiar with. Now let me zoom in because I know it is kind of zoomed out right now. Zoom in like this. Bam. It has a bunch of categories listed over here on the left side of the screen that if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you want to kind of see what's floating around on ctext, you can actually drop down into these. So I think if you do English, right, English, it gives you the categories in English. If you're familiar with Chinese, it gives them in, it gives them in Chinese as well there. But so we'll do English since we're talking in English today anyways. So if you want to look at, okay, what kind of texts are in Confucianism? You just hit the drop down and it gives you a whole bunch of them. A lot of them are in pinyin, the Analects is in English, but you can click into these and a lot of them will give you a breakdown by section, different names of the sections within the text. It's really great for this. The Analects divides it up into the many different sections. You want to start at the beginning, bam, right there like that. Now, if you're in the English version of ctext, it will actually also give you the translation Sometimes. Now, for example, in this case, the Analects, the translation that it gives you is the one by James Lega. Now, this is a very, very old translation. It's very dated. It's from like over 120 years ago. So this is one that it's a nice first stop. You know, if you don't have a translation available and you can't read the original text, it's a great way to kind of get introduced to it. But there's been a lot done since this translation that has provided us with a lot more detail in terms of actually being able to translate the Analects. There's been a lot of ink spilled over how best to translate a lot of the terminology that isn't incorporated into this particular translation, but it's free for you right here. If you want to read it, you can read it. It's nice. It's a nice first reference. But so if you ever want to search for a particular thing, so say you want to look up, I don't know, here, what's a good thing that we can look up? We can look up Xiao. So this is the character that I have highlighted here. Xiao, that's filial piety, which is one of the big terms that you'll see floating around in a lot of Confucian texts. If you scroll down here, we actually have a search option, which you can search in each individual section, or you can search in the whole Analects. I put my Xiao in there. I just copy pasted that over there, hit search, and bam, it's going to highlight all of the different places where you can find Xiao. So this is really great if you're trying to find a particular term that's repeated throughout a text, and there's even multiple sections here. Down here, you got page 2 goes through and does this. It's a phenomenal resource, especially since it's free. It's something that you can use without having to worry about losing access to it. It's right there for you to use. Okay. So there's a lot more functionality with cText that I might spend talking about in another video, but for the quick and dirty, I just want to find a text, bam, this is where you can go first. Now, another option, because cText only has so much stuff, and a lot of it is devoted to historical texts. There is some literature, philosophy as well, but there are also some other resources that are free for you. Big one is Wikisource right here. So if I go back to my search, actually, you'll see, so cText, it comes up at the top a lot of times for these types of searches, but you also have your Wikipedia here, and that's going to give you some information. If I click into it really quick, might as well, you'll see that, so this is the Chinese version, and up here in the top corner, you can actually swap between different languages. You can see what's available, and this will just give you the page in English. So if you're not familiar with that, this is a great way to get you some quick and dirty information. Now, you know, there is the caveat that Wikipedia is not always the best source, but it's pretty damn good. It actually will give you a lot of information that would otherwise be very difficult for you to attain on your own. And so it's a great way to get a rough idea of what's going on. Now, it's not something that you want to rely on if you're publishing or if you're, you know, in any kind of serious situation where you want to make sure that you are well read on the subject. But if you're just trying to get an idea of where to start from, Wikipedia is amazing for that. Okay. Now, if we go back here, I don't know if Wikisource will pop up on this particular search. It does. Yeah, if you scroll down until you find zh.wikisource.org, that's the Chinese version of Wikisource, and bam, look, the Luoyu, the Analects is on here as well. It's got its little preface up here for you, and it's got all the different sections divided out by each line like that. It's a wonderful resource as well, and you can actually find a lot of material on here that you wouldn't be able to find elsewhere. Now, one thing to think about with any of these sources, though, is that there can be errors. Now, a lot of them have already been edited. There's been a lot of time spent making sure that there aren't any errors, but there are some texts, especially more obscure ones, that are going to be a little bit more problematic for you. So be aware of that. You know, if you're looking at a more obscure text, this might not be the best place. But if you're just looking at something, you know, like the Art of War, the Great Learning, things like I've been talking about on this channel in particular, these two sources can generally get you where you want to go. Okay. Now, another really quick thing before we finish off today, if you're looking at, say you want to read the Chinese version. So let's go back to the Wikipedia really quick. Say you want to read the Wikipedia in Chinese, which is right here, but you either are not super familiar, or you want to double check your reading. You can actually, if you copy the URL here and you go over to your Google Translate, which you've been using to type in, you can actually drop that in here into Google Translate, and it'll give you a Google translated version of the page. Now, again, it's Google Translate, it's not amazing, but you'll actually be able to find quite a bit of extra information on the Chinese versions of the Wikipedia pages and things like links in particular. So for Chinese history, for Chinese literature, the Chinese Wikipedia pages tend to have a lot more detail, a lot more links to things that you might not have found if you were just looking at the English version. So it's a great way to get another kind of source. Now, again, it's just for your reference, it's just to get you thinking about where you can actually go with what you're looking at. But like I said, it's a free source of information that you should use. It's going to save you a lot of time getting you to where you actually want to be instead of fumbling around by yourself without making use of the tools that are available to you. Okay, so yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. This is something that has helped me quite a lot in my own learning process, whether that was in learning the language and learning the history. There are a lot of tools that are just free for you to use on the internet that you might as well make use of because they're going to save you immense amounts of time. So if you like my video, give me a like. If you like my channel, subscribe. I'm going to keep hitting you up with these videos, some like this where I give you some tips and tricks, some where I give you the details about reading. But yeah, hope to see you back in my other ones and have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day.